All right, quick episode today. We recorded an exciting episode with Dr. Yosef Sokol, and they'll be coming next week. But so look out for that. That's on his book, Becoming Godly. All right, let's get into it. So I want to talk about a couple of things I got wrong and a couple of things I got right, and how I understand that. So I did an episode a couple of weeks ago on aid in Gaza, and I thought it's a mistake that Israel supplies aid in Gaza was getting involved in distribution. I thought it was a meritorious idea. But I think that Israel gives away the game when they accept the idea that Israel at all is responsible for the safety and the food of the Palestinians. The Palestinians are not an innocent party in this. They are Hamas, and the Palestinians are one and the same. And so the strategy just became to undermine all of that aid. And for some reason, the UN is completely in cahoots with them with that. So there was just no way that was going to work out. And now Israel is acquiesced, and now the aid goes back in, and it supports Hamas. And so it's so crazy. I'm watching Arab states dropping aid on Gaza. Who's checking what's in those drops? Do we not assume that in those airdrops are weapons? This is totally insane. In a time of a war, that the airdrop should be on the enemy. I heard someone go on Pierce the other day. He's like, would you be proud of this? How could the Israelis be proud of this? Yeah, I'm proud of this. I'm proud of total war on the Palestinian people until they surrender. That's what I'm proud of. Absolutely. The Palestinian people do not care about the lives of their children, because if they did, they would end this war. They can end this war very simply by surrendering. The war, then you lose territory and you lose the ability to continue fighting. That's it. Otherwise, the war goes on. All right. On that. Now, I want to talk about what I got wrong. I was very anti-tariffs, and I thought that that was going to lead to ruin. And I got it wrong for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I claimed that the tariffs were gonna tank the economy. The tariffs didn't come because Trump was able to pull off some incredible deals. Just last week, he had Europe over the barrel, and I forgot that it's the first time in my adult life where the CEO, the president of the country, is someone that's somewhat competent. And so he's coming up against like completely incompetent politicians, and he has them. And he just used the leverage, and he won. Now, I don't think foreign policy should be dependent on that. I don't think there should be a tariff regime at all. But it did okay. And now the question is, I think the economy would be doing better without tariffs. But it's not. It's impressive what he pulled off. And so I have to admit that I thought that this was going to turn out very bad, and it looks like it will not. And that's going to be something to be like very. That's going to be something that's going to be studied, and we should really understand why that is. All right. So this Mondani fellow, Matt Bush made a really important point about this Mondani guy. A very, very interesting point. He went to his hometown in Uganda to celebrate his wedding. He's going to be the mayor of New York. Like, I'm not saying that's wrong, that's illegal, but they're seeing something very not proud of America, of the people that want to take over these cities. He said he's like to bring a third world perspective. We don't want a third world perspective. We've seen third world perspectives are not good. The third world sucks. The world sucks. We're talking about income inequality. I am from Africa. Income inequality is terrible over there. These socialist crazy ideas that have infected those countries have led to disaster. The third world perspective is terrible. And if you're here like saying, oh, but that's really where, and the goal of it, the man who wants to defund the police, he's at $1 billion compound surrounded by people carrying automatic weapons because it's so dangerous in that part of the world. And he wants to bring that perspective here. Why? Why do we need it? So yeah, you don't have to be pro-American to be an American. You don't have to be. We have free speech. But if you're running for office, major office, the mayor of New York City is one of the most important cities in the country. Surely you should be like pro-American then, right? Surely you should embody American values. Otherwise, like, what are you trying to be? Somebody like an anti-American politician? But that's not what you're for. It's a very strange thing. Okay. One thing just an interesting thought I had about AI this week is that, I've been getting clients like that have started AI vibe coding projects, and then they've like brought it as like a project to be worked on. And that's a really cool realization, that people that think that, oh, this is going to get rid of engineers, it's the opposite, because somebody can get 80% of the way in a project, and then they can bring it to somebody and it's already fleshed out. And that's a very important thing, because it made me realize a lot about how AI is meant to be used, and some of the major advantages. When sometimes someone comes to me with a project like, hey, I want you to make this software for me, they often don't know what they want to make. Part of our job is to like feel it out. Like, do you want it to look like this? Do you want it to respond like this? Their idea doesn't exist, not even in their head. It's not fleshed out, like a lot of things, like the book before it's written. It's not true that the book is not in your head. The idea has to take form. Now, AI often allows you to get through a lot of the form, and then you start to like iterate. No, I want it to look like this. I want it to look like that. I want to change a little bit. But it wasn't that your idea was in your head, and now you're like just trying to have the look, the match what is in your head. No, part of what is in your head is molding, is changing. That's how I make some of, that's a lot of the process when I make some of my videos. Really, what I'm saying is that it allows somebody to fully flesh out their idea before they have to make a huge financial commitment. And that will allow people to make lots of ideas, and then most of them will stink. But the ones that do not, the ones that have potential, then they can be iterated over. And that will create more software. So thank God for this AI stuff. And we're lucky to be in the future. That'll do it for today, guys.